Let's go.
Heed the advice of first responders. When they ask you to evacuate, evacuate. This is not a drill.
This is crazy. There's a fire right outside our car.
And as soon as I opened my door, it was like right there, the hillside was on fire.
Let's go.
It was terrifying to running for your life.
It's literally right where we are. Oh my God. We gotta go. We still gotta go. Let's go. We gotta get out of here.
I'm Bridget Chavez for King 5 News. We've been on the ground here in Los Angeles for the last few days covering the devastating wildfires that have ravaged thousands of acres, forcing hundreds of thousands of people from their homes. We have their stories of heroism and resilience for you.
I mean, it looks pretty bad. Things look pretty bad. It's always like that calm before you get thrown in, especially like in this particular case. There's so much going on, like just reading right now about like what's happening with the fires expanding. So as volunteers, what we do is we just sort of are ready to serve, whatever that means.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, we want to ask you to prepare for landing.
We just landed at LAX, and as we were coming in, you could see smoke from the plane window. We just grabbed our bags. We're going to grab our rental car and get settled in, and we'll bring you the latest on what's going on here in LA.
Unless they live in western Malibu. Anyone who's in eastern Malibu has lost their house.
These are homes that the Palisades fire just completely destroyed. These homes completely gutted. All that's left is ash and twisted metal. In some cases, even just the chimney is left for these homes that once stood here. Can you just say your first and last name for me again?
Dan O'Connor.
So just tell me, I mean, how the last couple of days been here? I know you're a homeowner.
Well, it accelerated really quickly. I mean, I didn't think that it would reach us. It just kept getting hotter and hotter. And it was cumulative, you know, our anxiety about it approaching until finally it was coming over the edge. And I said, it's not going to travel 7 miles, but it traveled 7 miles in 3 to 4 hours. And then I sent my wife and my kids and my neighbor, they all left, and I was the last one there. I turned on my roof sprinklers, and I had the front hose on, I had the back hose on. As the flames approached, I just watered down everything I could. But there were vines on a back fence that, you know, it's a vertical structure. I had to pull those off that while they were on fire. It was like wrestling with a person who's on fire. By the time the fires got there, my driveway was completely saturated with water, so anything I got on the ground would go out. But it was a firestorm. It was a tornado, and there was like 30-foot flames. It was just a powder keg moving down, and I had so many embers flying around me, I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe. And then I fought it as long as I could to where the embers were swirling around me. I couldn't see anything. All I could do was look and see the embers hitting the side of something, and I could deduce that was probably the top of the driveway, and I walked that direction and made it out of the smoke. And then I left not knowing if my house would be intact, and I came back 2 days ago to find it still there. Because then I think it was because of the roof sprinklers, because they were still saturated with water. Two doors down, the house is gone. One door up, the house is gone. The house above me is gone. Like, the houses across the street were burning all day. The people who are affected by this are not super wealthy people. The people who live in Malibu are actually people who somehow eked out an existence here, somehow got a house here, and then we just deal with, you know, I mean, people are like, what's it like living in Malibu? The next time someone asks me that, I'm gonna be like, well, you gotta be a little bit of a survivalist.
We was camping out, enjoying the beach, surfing, and then the fire started, and now we're kind of just secluded here. Well, the first morning, so bad it blew my tent over. I saw the first fire over the hill there. Started hearing fire trucks, and it just progressed down the coast there. Well, we were walking to the Whole Foods down here where they were evacuating everybody. On the way back, they asked if we had a vehicle or anything, and I said, no, I'm walking. He said, and I said, everything I own's on the beach. He said, well, just take the beach back up and just stay out of sight. A sight to behold. It's just terrible. It was terrible. It's peaceful, but chaotic at the same time. Well, I talked to the lifeguard, and he said everything's cool. We can get in the water if we want. We're making the best of a bad situation. Couldn't be in a better place to be stuck somewhere. This is like paradise almost.
This is Topanga Canyon, and the winds here have just started to pick up, which has really not helped the firefight here. You can see flames and smoke just billowing in this canyon, and that's really making things tough for firefighters, not only with the wind, but the terrain here is tricky because it's rocky and it's pretty hard to access.
Center of town in Topanga. This is sort of a 24-hour amalgamation of food that's been donated, water, and some supplies for a civilian could use to do some brush clearing around the house. It's definitely within the spirit of Topanga, and I know that there are communities like that everywhere, but I think that that's something special about living here and being in that close-knit community. The Topanga area is sort of like Issaquah, where I used to live in Seattle. Very wooded, not necessarily a suburban gridlock kind of neighborhood that has easy access. There's a lot of roads that are supposed to be two-way, and they can really only fit one car. Yeah, it's definitely a intricate place to fight a fire, I'd say that much.
It's a really intense situation because you have people coming from all over the community with no real other place to go at this particular moment. It's really heartbreaking. You hear about all the memories that go into your home, and then when all those memories are gone in a fire, and it happens so quickly, it's just a very traumatizing experience to go through. And so you hear stories of what was lost, and you hear stories about the thankfulness of what was saved, primarily in terms of health and people surviving. So it's a whole bunch of emotions in there. So every slice, every socioeconomic group that you could think of is here. The fire doesn't discriminate, right?
Got a phone call while I was in Florida at our house out there, and neighbor said it's burning down, so I couldn't get anything out. What I'm doing here is trying to find my wife's wedding ring. It's precious to her, so that's what I'm digging for, to try to find that. Okay, so we had 2 bedrooms in the back here, and that's gone too. Just melted it. Amazing, amazing. It's amazing when you go through something like this, how God gives you like understanding of what he's teaching us in Scripture, and that is that he gives you peace. I'm so grateful that through all this, that he's provided so much peace.
Where we're at right now, it came over the ridge top, and it's on both sides of this ridge. It's impacting homes from both sides, so we've got crews split up, hose going over both sides of the mountain. Fire's working its way into the bottom of the drainage and then making runs up towards us. From Washington, the time of year is definitely different. Everybody comes with a common mission, so everybody has the same goals. We all understand the same chain of command and work under the same incident command team, so it's very seamless.
It's not over yet as the winds continue to swirl and the smoke continues to rise. We're going to stay here for throughout the day. We're scheduled to stay here into the night. The helicopters reach those areas that we can't get safely. They are able to keep that fire creeping at a slower pace, which reduces the radiant heat, reduces the amount of embers that start to fly, cools them down. When they do get airborne, they don't land on any of the wood structures and cause any fires up here on the home. Read the reports on the way down that there were like 300 engines or so already assigned to this fire, and wow, that sounds like a lot. Without being here and knowing how complex the road systems are, the topography that we're dealing with, the erratic winds, once you see it in person, you realize like that's not even near enough. I mean, I think at the end of the street we have 20, 30 engines up here with 3 to 4 person crews, hand lines out all over the place waiting for the work. If we didn't have this air support, it would have been all we could do to try to slow it down.
The firefight here is continuing into the night as crews try to get a handle on the Palisades fire. We're seeing spots flare up because at times the wind is calm like it is now, but then those gusts flare up, and that's when we start to see those hot spots.
We're already preparing for another significant wind event, probably much more widespread, all the way down into the San Diego region. While we continue to remain laser focused on containing the fires in LA, we have resources and firefighters pre-positioned, ready to respond when new fires break out in the coming days. It's always hard to know when and where wildfires are going to break out. What we know are the weather conditions are perfectly set that if an ignition does occur, it's going to spread very rapidly. We may not see as strong of winds, but still winds that are potentially hurricane level. And that is why it is so important to not only stress why we are prepared and pre-positioned, but why we're continuing to stress that residents in these areas are ready to evacuate and quickly leave the area should a fire break out. The aid that we have received from states like Washington and Oregon and across the West has been critical in aiding to our success.
Well, we're between the black and the green right now, and on the green side is a large valley, the Encino Valley, and down there a lot of homes that we don't want to lose. So right now the idea is it's the most active or most recently active part of the fire. It's very high exposed up here on the ridge where the winds are the highest, and a quick shift of the winds could blow these said embers over the top into the green, and we've got a bigger problem. In today's job, it doesn't look like much, but to us there's a lot of ground to cover.
I think we just got to bring water down now. Exposing here. As you see that this stuff just starts smoldering, it's exposing some more air, so we'll just have to come back and use a line and wet stuff down.
It's so crazy how barren it's become.
Yeah.
I think everybody's a little bit concerned with the winds that we have coming in and the future forecast through Wednesday. And I mean, essentially we're over here in preparation, getting some education of the area. Hopefully the winds don't come.
How is this different or similar to weather in the Pacific Northwest?
You know, I always explain it like this, is we're structural guys, right? And in a house fire, we know exactly what's gonna happen. If we go to the roof and cut a hole in the roof, if we break a window, it's a contained box. And out here in the urban interface, God has control of what happens out here. The winds kick up, you know, the fuels change, the topography changes, and so it's just a little bit different in terms of what we have in Western Washington.
Yes, it is the month of January. It is our winter time, but fire season here in California is year-round, and so we are continuing to urge our Californians to be prepared and to be ready. We have staffing, we have equipment pre-positioned, we are ready in case more fires break out, but we are continuing to push our preparedness messaging to make sure that if we have new fires, that residents evacuate quickly.
What's the greatest need you see right now?
I think the greatest need is to just get the place safe so people can come back. And then people feel like they have control over their life. And then the community can come back together, because these guys can do what they can do. They can travel up and down and look at this house and that house. But when people are back on their property together and talking to each other, it's, you know, there's people on the ground putting out hot spots. So just get it so that people can come back in.
These community members are our second family, right? These are the people that we serve. My heart goes out to them. I can't even imagine what they're going through, and if we can be any sort of hope and help with them and give them a sense of relief, that's what we're here for.
When the smoke passes, they'll rebuild. Yeah, I have a lot of hope,